Hey there, it's Lenny McGill with the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop here in the beautiful Nashville studios today, and I've got some interesting news. Our good friends at Kägwerks, who make the extended slide release, the interesting extended slide release that actually extends up on the frame or on the slide versus down. This is a slide stop lever, slide release. They called the other day and they said, we sold the company. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Do we have another person we're going to deal with? He goes, no. He said, you don't understand. He said, Kägwerks is more than just making gun parts. We have this technology company over here that is really the primary company, and the gun thing was kind of always separate and kind of different because I'm kind of a gun guy. This is the Kägwerks people telling us that he's kind of into guns. And so I sold this company. It's a technology company for a whole bunch of money. I mean, a big bunch of money. He's like, wow, that's amazing. He said, but I kept the gun stuff, and they wanted the name Kägwerks. So I kept the gun parts and pieces because I'm really into guns. I like guns. And I rebranded it. And I called it a name called Primätia. And there it is right there, Primätia. It's kind of a weird name, but that's the new name for the Kägwerks extended slide stops that we sell. We've sold a ton of them. And we're probably one of their best vendors, if not the best vendor for them. They're an interesting product. Here it is, kind of the idea is that the slide stop goes up versus just straight back. Now, we do make an extended slide stop that goes straight back. This one goes up, and there's some advantages to it that we're going to talk about, and I'm also going to show you some installation. But let me show it to you installed here on a Gen 5 19. And you'll see there it is installed. Okay, see how it goes up. And you're going to ask yourself, well, why and how, what's better, what's worse than this? And the idea here is that a lot of people, as you get a grip on the gun, the concept is to be as high up on that grip as you can, because the higher you are, the more control or recoil you have. Because again, just really the fulcrum action of the slide coming back. So if I'm down here, that slide's going to jump up a little bit more. If I get up top here, slide's going to kind of come straight back, and I'm going to have more control of it. So the problem with that is that sometimes people have a tendency to bump the slide stop accidentally, and accidentally lock the slide back, and they think, oh, what's going on? Is there something wrong? They don't even know they're touching it or bumping it. There is a lot of vibration going on here that you don't necessarily see, and that slide stop does bunch around a little bit, but the spring does force it down. But because of that high grip, a lot of people do find themselves bumping that accidentally. So that's why, one of the reasons why the Kägwerks has been popular is that some people like the fact that it sticks up high like that, and it allows you to manipulate it without really interfering with that high grip that a lot of people like to have. Some people have really big hands, especially like on these smaller guns like the G43 X. Seriously, a lot of people will tell us that they are the slide's locking back when I'm shooting. And we usually say, well, try to shoot it one-handed and be cognizant of where your thumb is, and let's see what happens. And then they typically call back and say, yeah, you're right. I was actually, I'm bumping that. When I get a two-handed grip, my thumb is somehow touching that and bumping it upwards, which then locks the slide back, that they didn't want to happen. Now, the other side of that, too, some people are actually holding it down, and so it doesn't lock back on the last round. So they'll call and say, hey, my gun's not locking back on the last round, something's wrong. And we say, well, what are you doing? Let's see how your grip is. Let's talk about that. And a lot of people, kind of take that in a wrong way. Like, hey, it's not me. I've been shooting for 50 years. I know exactly everything. It's like, yeah, okay. But we've heard so many of these same stories that we just try to troubleshoot this stuff. And we say, well, shoot it one-handed, be cognizant of where that thumb is, and let's see if it locks back on the last round. And invariably, they call back and say, wow, you're right. I am somehow holding it down by accident. Even if, and when I say holding it down, you don't have to have downward pressure on it. You just have to have some pressure on it all so it doesn't spring upwards and it doesn't lock back on the last shot. So that's where this raised and extended slide stop comes into play. So I want to show you how to install it real quick on this G43. Here's what it looks like on the Gen 5 option. This is the U-shaped. You can see how it is raised up. Kind of different. And like I said, we sell a ton of them. There is one disadvantage, I will tell you right now, is that it will scratch your slide a little bit. Now here's one that's been installed on a Glock 45. You can see there's some scratches right here. So people will call and say, hey, it's scratching my slide. And we say, well, yeah, it will. So be aware of that. Don't call us and say this is our fault. That's how it is. It is somewhat flexible. And so when you're pushing your fingers and your thumb on top of it and you let that slide go, if you're pushing forward a little bit or in a little bit, it's going to go ahead and intersect with a slide and it will scratch the slide. So that said, let's go ahead and do the installation on the G43X. This happens to be the sniper gray version of the 43X. I'm going to go ahead and drop the magazine, okay, and double check inside that chamber, make sure it's empty, and pull the trigger in a safe direction. Now we can work on the trigger. To remove the slide stop, which is basically this little tiny one right here. And you can see why a lot of people like the extended version, because that's so small, kind of hard to manage. And when I say manage, obviously, everybody's aware of the fact that I want to drop the slide when a slide locks back on the last one there, right? But the other thing that I really like is that it allows you to lock the slide back easier too, because you can just swipe up with your thumb without having to do exactly what I just did there, where I turned the gun this way to actually get a thumb on it. So there it is, down, boom, safe direction. Now to pull the slide off of the top of the frame, I'm going to go ahead and pull the slide back just a little bit, just to break it off of the slide lock. Got about a quarter inch or so, maybe half an inch, and then pull down on the slide lock and hold down on the slide lock on both sides and walk the slide off like so. So there's the upper, and there's the lower, or slide and frame. And so the slide will just go off that way. There's a pin here, that being the trigger pin and the trigger housing pin. I've got a punch that I'm going to use to remove the trigger pin. And sometimes it's tight, and the secret here, okay, there's a secret, is to manipulate or jiggle the slide stop. That will help release the pin from the slide stop. The slide stop actually captures the pin, and the pin captures the slide stop. It's a great design. Glock is, he was a genius. God rest his soul. He passed away just last year. So, okay, now, take this punch, put it on top here, manipulate this slide stop a little bit, and it comes right out. Now, this one came out easy because I played with it a little bit earlier, okay? So, I got to be honest, sometimes they're a lot more difficult. Okay, now, I need to take the locking block out, and I'll use that punch just to pry it out a little bit. Very simple, just like so. Okay, that's the locking block. And now that I've got the locking block, I'm going to pull the whole slide stop, which we're going to replace. Now, here is my new Primätia extended slide stop. Extended and raised, I guess is the word. And we'll see how this goes and looks into this new Glock option here. Okay, so here is the extended raise. Now, let's compare it real quickly to the factory guy here. Boom, boom. So you can see that it's extended significantly and raised. The extension really makes it different and unique. It makes it easier to manage, should I say. The raise is what makes it different and unique. The management of this thing, again, is just how you operate the gun. So you don't have to readjust your grip and all that stuff. But the other advantage truly is the fact that you won't inadvertently bump it when you're shooting. So I'm going to take this and drop it straight into the hole there. You're going to line up our holes. And I can look inside and the holes are lined up. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead and drop my my locking block straight over top of that. And those holes are going to line up. So I want to make sure when I look inside there that I can see, okay, it looks like everything's kind of lined up. Sometimes I got to push the trigger down. Sometimes I may need to push the slide stop in place. And I've got a hole that looks pretty round. Okay. If I, had any issues there, I could go in there with my punch and kind of straighten them all out a little bit, Let me get my punching here like so. Boom, boom, boom. But it looks pretty good. So I'm going to take my pin now and start it by hand. And if everything is good, it should go in mostly by hand. just like that. Take my little hammer and with a nylon tip and tap it in. Now, the only thing I like to do here is true up the trigger pin on both sides. And that also allows the slide stop to lock into place properly. And sometimes you'll hear a click here. And there was a big click. So that's the spring that's in the slide stop pushing up and the hole locking into place on the two grooves of the trigger pin. So there you go. So that's basically install. Now here comes my slide again. Now I want to talk about this real quick. Every once in a while, when you pull your slide off, the guide rod will jump up like this and sit on the top ledge. Let's see if I can get it down there just perfectly. And people think, oh, is it broken? No, that happens all the time. Okay, so if you take your slide off and the guide rod is sitting up like that, it's not broken. That's just how it works. What you want to do is you're going to want to just squeeze it and push it down to the second ledge, the little half moon ledge there, and that's how it wants to go on. It does get captured once it's in the gun. If it jumps off when you're taking it off, that's just normal. So people call all the time and think there's something wrong with it, but it's not. Now I'll go ahead and put my slide back on top of my rails here. Okay, and there's that slide stop. And that's what it looks like. Okay, so you have the ability to manipulate that with your thumb up top there. And, this is a very popular item. I will tell you again, be aware that, you can see how tight it is on the slide. It is going to scratch the slide a little bit. It's almost inevitable. So that is one of the only disadvantages I see of this thing. It does operate great. It has a big fat handle, a big fat lever to push down on. But the bottom line is it does not allow you to bump it accidentally. And that's what it's all about. So you get that high grip there. You can be very aggressive up on the frame and not accidentally bump that by mistake, which a lot of people do. And that's one of the true advantages of this installed in either the 43X, the standard Gen 3, Gen 4 guns, or the Gen 5 guns like this one here. So that said, Kägwerks is now Primätia. And we are still carrying them, and they're still available. And we're just happy to be, part of their program because they've got a good product, and we've been carrying them for several years now, and it's been a really good thing for both of us. And like I said, he called the other day and says, "Hey, we rebranded." And some people don't believe it, so they think it's kind of a scam, and it's like, no, we had to sell the name with the technology company, and so we had to rebrand it because, he's kind of a gun guy, he likes the gun business, and he said, I had to come up with another name, and it came up with Primätia, and that's what it is, and that's what it will be, and we're going to have them here on the GlockStore. Just like every other Glock piece and part you could ever imagine. And we've got available here all the Glock factory parts, magazines, accessories, anything you need for your Glock to make it shoot better, look better, feel better, and make you a safer, faster, more accurate shooter. We've got it here at theglockstore.com. I'm Lenny McGill. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.